one, I'm just going to say this because I feel called to say this. Like, I feel like it is a reflection of just how connected we are as individuals as a whole. I know it's not, there's a lot of synchronicities between me and Stephanie, but I think when we start to have these bigger conversations with others, we start to realize the similarities.
You are listening to Come As You Are, the podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I'm joined by my two friends, Amanda and Tyler. Together, we are a trio of coaches coming together to explore life's biggest topics. Each episode, we hold true to our name, Come As You Are, by showing up and just hitting record. Whatever we bring to the table that week is what we talk about. No scripts, no planning, just real and raw conversations. Our mission is to create a space where vulnerability and authenticity take center stage. And we believe in the power of deep conversations and soulful connections. So welcome to the show. We are happy that you're here, and we invite you now to just sit back, relax, and enjoy today's conversation.
Hello.
Hi guys, how's it going?
How is everyone?
Okay, Tyler, I love your shirt.
Oh, thank you.
Want that?
Thank you. It was part of there was a little bit of controversy around Target this year, but it was part of Target's like Pride collection. And I was like, this is just too perfect. Like, it's so colorful. I love it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with all the colors, so I love it.
It matches well. Actually, it looks really gross right now. I got a new tattoo last night.
What?
Which it's covered so that like it looks really gross because like it's like the ink sacs and blood and everything like that. But my shirt matches my tattoo because the little disco ball or mirror ball, it's like all the rainbow colors.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
Did you plan this, or was it spontaneous?
The tattoo was spontaneous. Yes, my friend who did this tattoo, she posted that she was doing like a flash sale, and one of her flash sale tattoos was the mirror ball, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta go get it. Like, that's too cute. So it was very spontaneous, like, let's just get another tattoo.
Wow, so cool.
That's so fun. That's so fun. I have like tattoos that I want, but I'm literally like planning everything. So I love the spontaneity. I think that's so cool.
They're addicting. Like, once you get one, like, you start to think, okay, what do I want next? And then it like cascades into this, like, all of a sudden you're like going for like a full sleeve of like a mosaic tattoo thing, and it's like, where this just started from like one tattoo. But you can't, like, the saying is you can't just have one tattoo, and I'm like totally, like, I believe in that, because once you get one, it's like, okay, like, what's next? It becomes like you're just like adding to your like body of art, and I think they're so beautiful.
Yeah, same thing. I have one on my ribs, and ever since then I got another one, and then well, actually I got both of them at the same time, and I almost was gonna get three at the same time because I couldn't pick which one first. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Let's think about this. Let's plan this out. So yeah, no, I totally get that. It's so fun. But I have very specific ones that I want, and I think that finding the right artist for certain things, right? Like, it's like anything else. Some people are better at cartoon style, some people are better at color, some people black and white. Like, everyone has their specialty, kind of like coaching, right? Everybody has their what they're good at. So I'm really trying to find a very specific artist. And I know they're out there, so I'll put it out there in the universe. Come find me, because I know exactly what I want. And it's a combination of a few styles. So it's a little trickier to find the right person, but I know they're out there. So yeah.
Stephanie, do you have any tattoos?
I do not, but I've heard this so often that people say, like, once you get one, there's no stopping you, that you just want to add to this tapestry of wonder on your body once you start. I've actually never really honestly considered it. I don't know. I'm just one of those people that tattoos are not something that are, I don't know even how to say this. I don't know. It's just not appealing to me.
Yeah.
And I think the number one thing that just stops me from doing it is that I mean, we know this better than anyone. People change, right? And so I'm thinking, gee, what if in 10 years you just don't like this motive anymore? And there are definitely things in my life that have stuck with me for a decade or so. But I don't know if I'm the kind of person that I think I would get sick of it, or I would just worry way too much about maybe not liking it someday, so that it's, I don't know, the worry kind of outweighs the joy I would find in having a tattoo. So that's why I don't do it. But I mean, I think there's like, I mean, tattoo is like this whole art form, right? And it's, I don't know, I've seen some so amazing tattoos and like, wow, this is really cool what people can do.
I think it's a matter of finding something that has meaning. And to me, anyways, for me, like, I don't know, there's each tattoo that I have or want has a very specific meaning to it. And I used to think the same thing too. I'm like, what if when I'm old and wrinkly, like it's not gonna look like as cute, right? Like, it's not gonna look the same. So am I still gonna like it then? But because it has so much meaning, I think of, okay, well, I'm not wrinkly longer than I'm going to be wrinkly. So I'll enjoy it longer. I don't know. This is my like rationale. And because the ones that I have or I'm getting they have such symbolism to me. Like there's just so much meaning behind. Like my first one was my grandmother's handwriting. Like to me, that's just such a special, like she would sign every single one of our birthday cards with love always. And so I took that handwriting and that's what I have on my ribs. And so every time I think of that, it's just like a really special piece of her with me, I think of, so that I guess for me was like, who cares if I'm old and wrinkly and it doesn't say love always anymore? It looks like who knows what.
Well, and to Amanda's point, like, and even like coming off of what Stephanie's saying, like my very first tattoo, I look at it and it was the big one. Like it's this leaf or this feather, and then it says, "Be brave enough to live creatively." And I got it when I was in film school. Like I was in college. I got it with a roommate, and we since like I had a falling out with that roommate. And I look back at this first tattoo, and I still use creativity every single day in my career, in what we do, as coaches. So like the saying hasn't changed, but I look back and it captures a part of my life. And I think for me, that's the really cool thing about the tattoos, is it's not necessarily like have I changed since I've gotten this feather tattoo? Oh, absolutely. This was a part of my life when I was like discovering who Tyler was, and I was afraid to embrace the color. And now my little mirror ball, disco ball, like this is my first colored tattoo. It's the first one that has color. And I think it's like such a transformation of change and evolution. And each tattoo tells a little story. And like Amanda was saying, like they all have such like significant meanings for me, and they all just perfectly kind of document moments of my life. And I think that's why I love them, coming from like the theater kid who then became like the documentary filmmaker who's now like life coach. Like and it's like every tattoo is kind of different and abstract in a way, but so am I, and I think it's like such a beautiful like reflection of self. And I don't know, that's really what I've been thinking about recently, is like the little moments that we have in life and how they kind of make us who we are. Because like last week we didn't get to record because I went out of town and I saw my mom. And thank you too for like the kind words. I listened to the message, and just had like last weekend I just took the whole weekend off, like starting from Friday when I went down to visit my mom. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we had Monday off from work because of the holiday. And I was like, I'm not doing anything. Like I'm literally taking 4 days off to just like rest and have fun and play. And I mean, it was so amazing. But like, I reconnected with my mom last weekend, and it's still hard. Like we're now 4 years into this whole process of everything that I went through with my parents, and it like doesn't get easier, like we change and we grow, but like so doesn't my mom. And like she divorced my dad like last year, and she's now with a new man. And so I met the boyfriend on Friday, and it was weird, to be like, this is my mom, but she's not with my dad. And I'm almost 30, y'all. Okay. But there's still something so childlike about, knowing that your mom and your dad are not together, in that capacity. And I was like, this is weird. Like, I don't like, it's like there was still just like that little part of me that wanted my parents to be together, even though they were really bad for each other near towards the end. And like everybody's so much happier now that they've separated, and it's a great thing that they did that. But like I was just like, wow, like this is not my dad. And it felt so weird. But I've just been thinking about like, I don't know, talking about these tattoos and then talking about just all the little moments in life. Like, it's amazing how life plays out, isn't it? Like the synchronicities, the how orchestrated and perfectly like planned everything is at the end of the day. Like, it was just like last Friday I realized I was like, okay, my mom's gonna be okay. She found somebody who's gonna take care of her. That's what she needs. She's always needed that. And I was just like, okay, like that chapter is like closed. And it was like I almost felt like I don't have to be there for her anymore because she's got other people taking care of her. And I was like, wow, this is beautiful.
Oh my goodness. So many things. First, I can definitely relate to this. Like, my parents divorced also when I was an adult child, I guess you could say. Like, I was an adult, but you still have this like child moment, right? Like, both of them have moved on and you're happy that they're happy, right? You just want them to be happy. And seeing them both, remarried and with somebody else. And it's been a few years now. So kind of gotten used to it. But initially, yeah, it's weird. It is really, really weird. And I think also going back to this, like this adult child that we are, right? Like when you said, I don't have to take care of my mom anymore. It's so like that inner child just screams at me. How interesting that we feel that as children, we need to take care of our parents and for whatever reasons, right? But that we take this on of, I need to care for my parents and they're the adults. We're the kids, but we have this. And so just like your awareness and acknowledging that, like, I think we could all use that every once in a while, how we caretake other people, or, I know so many times we talk about the people pleaser, right? How that comes out because we're trying to protect or take care of other people. And I love the like duality of this, I'm taking care of my mom. Now I don't have to. And I took this time. I did nothing for a whole weekend and then some because of the holiday. I don't know. I just think that's so beautiful. So thank you for sharing that, Tyler.
Yeah. Well, thank you for letting me dump it, because I was like holding it in, and I was like, I'm gonna come to the call, and I just like, again, we come as we are here on this show, and it was like when I got up this morning, I was like, I cannot wait to connect with y'all, because this is like really become like such a safe space for me to like dump things, but like not dump them on you, but just like put them out there and like know that other people are going to hold the words and hold the space and like have the conversations with me. And so I don't know, like last weekend was challenging because of the complex relationship that, I have with my mom. And it was like I don't know, I just come here and I feel so supported, and so thank you for letting me dump. Yeah.
So I'm gonna join the parents got divorced when I was already an adult-ish club also. I think I was around. Thank you. I'm looking forward to receiving my membership card. I think I was like 18 or so. And I think my parents had put it off, or my mom had put it off to separate from my dad, because I have a sister that is much younger. She's like 8 years younger, and she's very much a daddy kid. And my mom was always so afraid what a divorce would do to my sister. But I think that, now in hindsight, was really just an excuse, because she was scared of the changes that would come, not necessarily for us kids, but for the family in general, and what other people would think, talking about the people pleaser when people get divorced. And I remember when my sister went to school, like all of her friends' parents, like everyone was kind of divorced. And then we would always look at our household and see like, wow, that our parents are together is kind of like a miracle. But I mean, there were always issues. And then eventually my mom did leave my dad. And of course, it wasn't, that big of a deal for my sister. She just like really built it up so badly in her head. And I actually don't have this notion to take care of my parents. I mean, it always depends on what was going on when you were a kid, right? But I did have this notion of wanting to take care of my sister. So anything that went wrong in my sister's life, especially in her teenage years, that I put on my shoulders. And I mean, that stuff gets heavy, right? It's not mine to carry. There's even this term for it, but I forgot about it right now. But there's this term when you kind of, as a kid, think you need to take on the parent role, even partially for certain aspects, right? Maybe there's one parent that cannot perform their duties as a parent. Maybe they're sick, or maybe they are like, maybe there's drug abuse or whatever. And then you kind of, as a kid, think that there's parts that you have to take over, like take the responsibility, which is really not yours to carry, but you do it. You kind of find yourself doing it. And I did this again, not with parents, but with my sister. And then when I learned at some point, somewhere in my 20s, that's like baggage that I just put on myself. It was so heavy. And once I lifted that, you have no idea how I felt like I could fly, once you drop that's such a big relief. And I'd say that, I mean, it's still an ongoing process. I think that this kind of stuff you really have to work through in like layers. Like you're not gonna drop it all at once. I wish it was that easy. You're gonna, over time drop package by package, little by little, step by step. Yeah.
That's so, I don't know, Stephanie. I don't know if we've ever chatted about this in our many years that we've known each other, but like we have very similar stories in like my sister's also 8 years younger than me, and so it's so spooky. I love how, I don't know, Stephanie, there's just something
You always
there,
say this,
there's
right? Like,
I know, but it's
we're
true
so on the same path. Yeah.
every time, like, one, I'm just gonna say this because I feel called to say this. Like, I feel like it is a reflection of just how connected we are as individuals as a whole. I know it's not, there's a lot of synchronicities between me and Stephanie, but I think when we start to have these bigger conversations with others, we start to realize the similarities, like, and how just synchronized everything is, because all three of us are like children of divorce, but like at older ages in life. It didn't happen when we were 7. It happened when we were like young adults, and so I think that's just so incredible to kind of look at. And for me, I was in the exact same space. Like growing up, I always took care of my little sister, and I always like, even going back to like when she was born and I was like 8 years old, like I took on a very like parental role in like bringing up my sister, because of, I think, the lack of, I'm going to say, the lack of interest, or the lack of like paternal responsibility my parents took on, like it was like I used to like comfort my sister and play with my sister, and like when I turned 16, I was driving her around everywhere, like that became like, I became chauffeur, all of these kind of things. But it was like, it wasn't until the last couple of years that I've been in therapy that I started to unbox all of this and had that like awakening of like, wow, you're taking on so much, Tyler, and it's not your job to be the parent. And it was so hard. Like, it's so hard to break up that role and to be like, okay, that's not my space. Like, I just get to be brother, and I don't have to be mom and dad plus brother. And I think it's really challenging sometimes, especially when you're the older sibling, because you feel so responsible. Like, it's like your duty to, set the stage and lead by example, and then be there when they fall or pick them up when they're crying. And it's like so much to take on. And that's what, like, the last couple of years I've been having to like reshape my relationship with my sister, to be like, hey, I love you, I'm your brother. Like, that's my role, is to be brother, not everything. And it's just been such an interesting like evolution to like unpack how much personal responsibility I put on myself to take on these roles. And like, listening to us all talk here, it's like, it makes total sense that we all landed into a coaching space. Like, it makes total sense that we are now all coaches, because we always took on these leadership roles, these higher responsibilities, these nurturing roles. So it's like no brainer that we're all sitting here today and we're like, yep, we ended up being coaches as our career. And like, and just like, phew, light bulb.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. I think even like there's so many, even though some differences, but in similarities, in the sense like we're all older siblings. I'm the oldest of 4. So this role of being the role model, or I don't even know how many times in my life that I was told to set a good example for your siblings, like the amount of times. And though I am grateful for that now, because I feel like I step into this, especially that I work with teenagers, right? I'm really stepping into a role model role. So I feel like pretty comfortable there, because I've been doing it for quite some time and it feels good for me. And authenticity is something that has always been really important for me. So it feels genuine, it feels authentic, that I would only naturally become this role model, right? And funny, I'll add to this. So from me to the youngest is 8 years. So kind of interesting how we're all like, although there's 2 in between for me, but still, it's really interesting, actually. I don't think we've ever actually analyzed this part of our connections. This is so cool. I'm loving this. But I really think that role model position that you really do, we take that on, and I really took that seriously. And even I remember growing up so many times where, my sister didn't want to cooperate, and my mom was busy wrangling the other two, and it's like, Amanda, please help. Like, and I was the one who always got them to, get ready or do the thing that needed to be done so that we could do whatever we needed to do. And I can see how that shows up, and absolutely agree that, yeah, it only makes sense that coach. It just makes sense. I couldn't see it any other way. And how life lined me up, and even us, right? I think I can speak for us collectively, that all of those experiences that we had, like, what would have happened if we were the youngest and maybe we didn't have this, stepping into this role model right away, that, position in the family, or just in that role, for lack of a better word. But you know what I mean? Like, how would things have been different if maybe we didn't have a sibling? I don't know. I don't know.
It
Wonder.
Oh,
Go
go ahead,
ahead.
Stephanie. No, go ahead.
I wonder sometimes, when you're talking about, hypothetical scenarios now, I've had this a couple of times in my life where I'm meeting someone new, and then I can already tell that this person doesn't have any siblings without them telling me that they don't have any siblings. So I feel like, regardless of, whether you are, so I'm the sandwich, so I have an older brother and a younger sister. So whether you're like the oldest or the youngest, I think there's such a gift in having siblings. Whether you are like, I think my sister, because she had too much older siblings, that she grew up quicker. Like, she got exposed to things that she probably wouldn't have been exposed to if she only had like an older sibling that was maybe 2 years older or so, right? Because we were already so further ahead in our development, like, the class in school and the kind of friends we had and what we did. And I think as a much younger sibling, you kind of pick up on that, and you're somehow already a bit more drawn to just develop a bit quicker. And vice versa. I feel like sometimes I got stuck in this like children universe a bit longer. So this is why I have also this stronger connection to the younger generation now, because I have this younger sibling, and she kind of like allowed me to stay in that space a bit longer. So, it's just about, when you see these like TV shows and you're like, oh yeah, I know this because my sister watched it, not because I watched it, this kind of stuff, right? So I think it's like this mutual benefiting. That's so interesting. And yeah, I just wanted to bring this up. I'm just so grateful to have siblings, because I think my life would have been freaking boring if I didn't.
Well, I loved your reflection there of like being held into like, the younger space, because when my sister was born, she grew up watching like Dora the Explorer and like some of these like TV shows, and like I would have never watched any of those. And like even some of like I would say even some of the Disney Channel shows that I ended up like kind of falling in love with, like, The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Like I was almost on the brink of like the like I was like in middle school when that came out, and it was almost like, okay, like you're too old to be watching the Disney Channel shows, but like my sister loved it, and I ended up loving these kind of things. And it was like, for me, I think that's, at least for me, like that's why like I'm so imaginative, is because I got to like play pretend with my little sister, and I got to like, even all the way into like when it was no longer cool, because I was like the 15-year-old that was still playing games with my sister because she was like 8, or 9, and so I was playing we played Barbies and Play-Doh and like all of these things, and I was always just like playing, even into, wow, I'm having like, sorry y'all, I'm just having like this all makes so much sense, like it all makes so much sense that like I was imaginative, and then that spiraled into me going into theater, and like it all just kind of like unfolds so beautifully. And I think I'm feeling very, today, for whatever reason, I'm feeling very like appreciative of the journey and just how it unfolds, because I think so often we get tripped up in like trying to make it happen, that we don't ever reflect back enough to realize, okay, just how perfectly it has all played out. And I mean, I'm even talking about like the bad things that have happened to us, the negative things that we don't, you know, that aren't always so fun to talk about. Like even those moments came into my life exactly when they needed to come into my life to like position me to where I am today. And it's like, I don't know, I'm just feeling very grateful for the journey so far, and feeling very like, wow, what a beautiful story we have all lived.
Love it. And to bring a little bit more gratitude to the conversation, I definitely can say that how the journey, yes, we can be so grateful for it. And I think certain things that stand out for me in my journey was being the oldest of 4, and that love of kids. I wonder sometimes, where did that come from? But I was always surrounded by kids. Like from me to my next sister is 14 months. Like there wasn't much time for me, like to be, I guess, an only child, if you want to look at it that way, right? Like right away, I had siblings. There wasn't really time in between for me to really even get used to the idea that I had this life, I guess, and already I had siblings. And so I think that, that love of children, where was that birth? Because I am always that person that's around the kids. Like, seriously, to this day, it doesn't matter what party we're at. If you lose me, you find the kids and you'll find me. I'm like the neighborhood hangout for all the kids on the street. Everybody comes to our house. They want to play here. So, but I'm not just they're, locked in the basement and they're playing their games. I'm there too. And I'm like, oh, what are we playing next? Like, I'm just so excited to be a part of what they're doing. Right. And I think also too, when we're talking about more on this more maybe negative side of things, I see, and I talk about this all the time when people ask me, what inspired you really to work with teenagers? And for me, it was this. It was the hard parts. It was the hard parts of my teen years. I really struggled as a teenager. And ask me when I was a teenager if it was fun. It was not fun. It was not fun. Like I really struggled with my mental health, and I figured it out on my own. Enter the gratitude, right? And I'm super grateful for that. But I do wonder sometimes that if I hadn't had that struggle, would I be still working with teenagers? I don't know if I would be as motivated or inspired to support them, because I mean, it's a big mission for every teen to have a coach, but I feel so strongly about it because I think of my struggles and I connect back to that and think, wow, yes, at the time it was hard. And yes, it sucked. It really sucked. But now on the other side of it, I can see the beauty in it and really and truly why I experienced such hardship and had to figure it out on my own, so that now I'm on this journey to make it easier for other teenagers so they don't have to struggle like I did. And I love that, especially in the coaching world, that so many of us take this initial pain and turn it into this power or this motivation, or to just, it inspires us to support others who have been on maybe a similar journey. So yeah, that's my little piece of gratitude.
That's exactly where I wanted to go also. It's so interesting that I do believe that really for any person, they don't even have to be in this space of personal development or being coaches or therapists or whatever, but that we all experience a certain suffering as kids. And then it sounds so weird, like why is there suffering in this first place? But that's a question we want to answer today, right? But we all have this like initial suffering, and then turning, like you said, turning that into your power, right? Like turning pain into power. I think that's then the journey later on. And for us, it's very key to make that our purpose, right? We are so locked into being coaches and helping others to ease the pain, or to turn the pain into power a bit quicker, for the suffering not to last so long, or even just make them aware that this is the suffering state, and there's so much more beautiful life out there for you, raising that awareness. So for us, that's our mission, our purpose. We're so honed into that. But I think essentially it doesn't have to be the purpose for every person, but I think every person on their journey here as a human on this planet, they're all going through this process of like experiencing hardship, and then the idea is the concept, whatever you want to call it, is to turn that into power. And that's hard. And for that to happen, you have to first, I guess, go back and understand, hey, what is the suffering? What is it that is has caused you to experience some kind of difficulty in this present state? Because that's, I think, how it usually starts, right? You ask yourselves at some point in your life, gee, why am I not happy? Shouldn't I be happy? Like, what's happening, right? And then you do some digging, and you take a course, and you do something here, read a book, yada, yada, yada. And then you find yourself at the bottom of this, like, oh, holy shit, it all started when I was 6 years old, and, enter core wound here. And I've also, and I need to say this for everyone, like, this is a process that it's kind of with us for the rest of our lives, right? I don't think that you will ever see this day where, like, okay, check, my childhood trauma healed, cool, and now I can move on. This doesn't happen.
If anybody listening has the magic formula, please let us know. We want the magic pill. It'll come with your child of divorce trauma membership.
Tyler, you looked like you really wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know what's happening today. Like, the collective energy is like here. But I like, so last night Taylor Swift released like Speak Now, like Taylor's version. Like, that's the big like Taylor news. And she always releases, when she releases the Taylor's version, she releases tracks from the vault, which are songs she has never released before. And one of her songs from the vault is Castles Crumbling. And she was writing about how she had achieved like so much success, and she went from being like this beloved artist to now everybody hating her and whatnot. And I mean, that comes with fame, that comes with like the territory that she found herself in. And like, her Speak Now album was the one that really like skyrocketed her to like mega success. Like, it was the big album that just like threw her everywhere. And I was listening to this new song, and she was talking about, this, it was like this collective feeling of I'm not enough, no matter what I achieve, no matter what I do, no matter how big I become, like, it's still not enough. And I got real emotional last night. It was like midnight, and I was listening to the release, and I was just sitting there reflecting on the journey as a whole. and how no matter, and it's like, this is like the human experience. Like, this is what I think makes being a human one of the most unique experiences that anybody can go through, is that regardless of success, accomplishments, material things that we are able to achieve in life, there there's still that lingering voice inside of us that says you're not enough. Like, you're not being enough, you're not doing enough. And I was just sitting there thinking, my God, this woman who, when she wrote Fearless, she was like in her early 20s, or excuse me, Speak Now. When she wrote Speak Now, she was like in her, late teens, early 20s, mega star, had everything that you could ever kind of desire materialistically. And she was still struggling with these feelings of, I'm not enough and they don't like me enough. And, you know, what I'm doing is not good enough. And I was just like, wow. And it made me think. I was like, okay, does Taylor Swift need a life coach? Probably. Absolutely. I'm just put it out there. I will happily take that job, Taylor. So if you're listening, like, connect with me. Like, I'm putting it out there. I will come be your personal life coach. You can have me on a retainer and we'll just, keep it going. But it was like that aha moment of like, even the biggest stars on our planet, the ones who look like they have it all, struggle with the exact same feelings that we experience. And again, it's like this idea of this universal collective energy of, you know, we as individuals, we have to make that choice and, constantly become our own best friends. Because if we continue to allow the negative voices, the I'm not enoughs, like this collective energy of like, I'm never going to be good enough. Like, once we recognize that everybody struggles with that, Taylor Swift, Oprah, the president of the United States, like, everybody struggles with this. Okay. It just makes it so human. And it makes me go, okay, like, it's not that bad because I'm not the only one struggling with that. And I just think, I don't know, I just think when we surrender to the process, when we learn to trust, when we learn to open our hearts, open our minds, and receive versus trying to force things, like, life becomes a really blissful experience. And that's what I've been learning here in like the later stages of my 20s is, for so many years I tried to force everything, and I took personal responsibility for everything, and it was all on me. And then, recently I've been going, you know what? I'm going to surrender. I'm going to put my hands up. I'm going to let go, and I'm just going to be, and I'm just going to live. And it's like a really beautiful gift to give yourself. So that was like my final takeaway as we were all talking about this like collective energy. It's like, just be.
It is so interesting that really, I think this is why when it comes to music, this is why we all love to listen to sad songs. And this is why when someone just sings about being happy for 3 minutes, that song is not necessarily as popular as a song where someone describes a really sad situation and tries to process something with a song. In that sense, I think between humans, like the shortest connection is when you connect through pain. Like, it's easier to connect through shared hardship in that sense. And I really love what you said there, Tyler. And once again, I'm having so much awe for the parallel journey that we are both on. I'm like, gee, were you in my coaching session this morning? It's like the same stuff. I think that I'm experiencing that too. There's this inner drive, not from a place of love, but it's from a place of fear, this inner drive, always wanting to achieve, always wanting to get the next thing, always wanting to have the next certificate or whatever, being this achiever type. And what this does is that it serves us in a way that we think, okay, once we achieve enough, we will be enough, right? I just have to perform. I just have to be that really eloquent speaker, or I just have to be that friend that always buys the drinks, or whatever example you want to take here, that you need to bring something in order to be worthy of it, right? You have to show something for it. And in Taylor's case, having trophies on the wall, or having 50 million followers, or this kind of stuff. And it's like what we are attempting to do with this kind of behavior is we're shoving this into a void into our hearts, but it's this like black hole. It's going to be sucked up all, and then 5 seconds later we will feel as crappy as we did before all the likes, or before all the trophies, or before all the certificates. And it's exactly what you said, Tyler, that we need to let go of all of this. It's not about the followers, not about the numbers, not about the achievements, not about how you look, or how many excuse me, how many cars you have in your garage. It's just being. And I know that sounds way too, I always think this. So whenever I find myself in this downward spiral of, oh no, I have to just work harder, and that will get me everything I want, right? When I find myself in that downward spiral, I remind myself, okay, it's about being. That's how you can essentially foster and nourish your inner sense of self-worth, when you just are. There's nothing that you have to do. And I know that sounds too easy to be true, but that's really it. Coming back to what we said earlier, what's the magic formula, right, for the healing? It's not that we will write the final chapter for the healing and then close the book, but I think that's what's moving you forward on your healing journey all the time, when you just allow yourself to be, like you said, Tyler, arms up, just surrender, let go, and know that the universe, or whatever your faith is, has your back. You don't have to carry it all by yourself. I think that's the cool part about it, right? And it's kind of letting go of a lot of the pressure, knowing that, okay, I don't have to do it all by myself. Even though there's not another person technically there, there's the universe there, or whatever that phase is that you have, right? There's something greater than ourselves out there that takes care of us, and there's we don't have to carry it all by ourselves, and we can just be, and that's the good enough part. And I think that's really difficult, to believe that. You can maybe understand it at some point, but then also to really ingrain this every day, thinking, okay, I'm being, and that's freaking enough.
And I really think that's the beauty of what we get to do here. This space is really just that, right? We're just being, we're showing up. Here we are. We started talking about tattoos, and look, we are talking about self-worth. What? What journey we've gone on in 40 minutes, right? And so I think that is a testament to the power of just being, just showing up and allowing whatever is meant to come up. Because after all these conversations, right, we always have our little chat after and really recognize how much healing there truly is. And whether it's, having a safe space to dump whatever is coming up for you, or to celebrate something that's going on for you, or to come into this collective energy and connect on the simple fact that as humans, we can all relate to this feeling of, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy. We can all get to that space and have that mutual understanding. And I truly believe that really in these conversations that we're having, that is where the beauty is, because it truly is an example in real life of just that we can start talking about tattoos, and it can lead us to so many other things, right? That's where I would leave that today.
I mean, I think that brings this conversation to a close just so beautifully and naturally. And again, it's just amazing to see, as Amanda was saying, like what happens when you allow yourself to just be present and just hold space for the conversations and for the connection. And I'm gonna end it there. So thank you all so much for listening to the show, for being a part of our collective energy. We are so grateful for every single person who is listening, who is joining in on the conversation. If you have anything to add, feel free to drop a comment, share, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. That feels so slimy saying that, I don't know, but thank you so much for being here, for being present with us, and we will see you next time for another Come As You Are conversation. Have a great day, y'all. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Come As You Are, the podcast. You can follow the show on Instagram at Kaya the Podcast, and on YouTube and Facebook by searching Kaya the Podcast. If you haven't already done so, please help us keep the conversations going by subscribing, rating, reviewing, and sharing this podcast. And be sure to join us next time for another deep conversation.